Hey, welcome into Season 2, Episode 3, A Cup of Hoops. I'm your host, Gasso Mass, joined by Gasso Blue. We are, of course, sponsored by Synergy. It's about to be high school season, and if coaches, you jump on the Synergy bandwagon, you will not regret it. And me and Blue will be forever grateful to be able to watch your games in super fast fashion, which is really fun. So, things to look forward to this week. Obviously, we are going down to San Antonio. We have our San Antonio Gasso Fall Tour, which is one of our favorite events. These fall tour events are so fun. You get to see so many high school teams. We run it back to back, so you get to see teams kind of fight through a little bit of adversity. So that's really fun. We also have our next gen product coming on Sunday. That event is loaded. Michael Timmons put out the list of players that we have coming to that on Sunday, and it is going to be an amazing crop. So we're very excited for that as well. The Gasso Fast Break, look forward to that. We're doing matchups, high priority matchups, under the radar matchups, and then lots of players that we are looking forward to seeing. The Recruiting Simplified newsletter drops every Wednesday. Get an edge on the competition. 1 minute reads. Yeah, that's a lot. Follow us on Twitter, X, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube. There are a lot more videos coming. You know, content season for the Gasso gang is about to begin, and that is a fun time of year. With that being said, Blue, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm just listening. I'm just kind of soaking it all in. I'm
I feel like I have
preparing.
to give a long monologue every beginning of every episode.
It's pretty. It's well worth it when you mention the word synergy.
Yeah,
Get
heck yeah.
those people hooked.
Heck
Hey,
yeah.
you know what? We have a lot. We have a lot to offer,
Yep.
and sometimes it's if you get on to like Substack and you go to our Gasso Fast Break, we're gonna throw you some free nuggets. It's just stuff that's out there that we just keep working on. We're trying to build on it. So no, the opening monologue is great.
Yeah. And I would say on our Twitter, make sure you're following the @Texas Hoops Gasso Twitter. That's where all the main information is going to be. News is going to be, commitments. A lot of dominoes have been dropping in the 2025 class, which has been really fun to see. So make sure you're just not missing any of this stuff. We take a lot of pride in trying to retweet every offer and commitment that's out there. Which is something we do every morning and make sure we're trying to get it to you. So let's move into the Recruiting Simplified question of the week. Biggest problem with recruitment right now. And I'm going to tip this one off. Okay. I think it's not an education problem at this point. I think it's more of an application problem. At least in the X Twitter world, like people are starting to understand the gist of what to do to how to gain interest. It's just they're not willing to do it. And what I mean by that is reaching out is hard work. It's a chore. But I feel like there's this narrative of I'm still slept on. And it's just like, are you reaching out? Are you really? My DM is filled every single morning with tons of questions. And a lot of them are like, hey, I've been reaching out. It's like, what does that look like? And they're like, well, I've reached out to 5 colleges in the last 3 weeks. And I'm just like, okay, I guess that's reaching out, but that's not really reaching out. So I would just urge you to say, apply all the educational things that you're learning, whether it be from Blue, whether it be from me, whether it be, the newsletter, however you slice it, make sure you're actually following through with the application, because that is how you're going to connect, make meaningful relationships, and hopefully explode your interest. Blue, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, I'm not going to go off and veer away from what you and I talked about earlier, but you bring up a good point of, when you send a tweet out, I had 21 points over the weekend, four assists, 6 rebounds per game. Well, that's nice, but like you said, how are you getting that information out? If it's a tweet and you're looking for likes and thumbs up and everything else to satisfy your need, that's not recruitment.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that one tweet can get buried.
Yeah. Really
That's why
quickly.
it's the time.
Yeah,
And
I had a
so,
player reach out to that point, Blue. I had a player reach out to me and say, like, I feel like my social media is intact. I feel like I'm having good games. I'm not getting the interest that I feel like I deserve. And this is a pretty well-known player. Like I knew exactly who he was when he DM'd me. And I went through his Twitter and I was like, bro, you're not tagging a soul. And not that tagging's the end all be all, but like tag with a purpose, tag the right people. Tag media members that will retweet or like or push your narrative. And you gotta play the game and understand what's going on here, because just like you said, you can get buried if you're not. So good point, Lou.
And so that goes along with, the strategy part. Obviously, we're really hitting home on the strategy, the application part of actually doing something, moving forward. But I think patience is very valuable at this point, because you have to ask yourself, what have you been doing to get your name out there? Who have you been contacting? Has anybody been contacting you? Knowing the landscape. I mean, this is the time of the year where you're going to have camps, like the next gen camps. You're going to have camps. You're going to have some type of like academic camps going on at some of the Division III institutions that they're inviting players. Like, you have to know what is going on around you so you can figure out what your next steps are. I can't hammer it home enough that where every Wednesday there is a free newsletter from Recruiting Simplified that Mass puts together. It has information and nuggets, and so I just would like everybody just to go out there for free and just subscribe, so you can get ahead of some of these other people that just want it to come. It's no longer what's wrong? I'm just waiting for recruitment. No, you got to generate that.
It's a low risk proposition. What I tell people, if you like my newsletter, then you'll really like my course, because the newsletter is a smaller version of my course, and I give away in-depth things, but not to the extent of my course. So I appreciate the shout out, Blue, and come join. I'd love to help. Moving on, we got a big event this weekend in San Antonio, like we mentioned earlier. Who is a player, Blue, that you are going to be kind of honing in on this weekend, or maybe it's two players that you really like, that you want to see more of?
Logan Gonzalez had a phenomenal spring and summer, I thought.
Yes.
Playing with Texas Hard Work. Here he goes to Cibolo Steel. Cibolo Steel has a two pretty big challenges coming up. I should know who they're playing, but I didn't. I forgot. They're in the wheelhouse of some of the big games during the afternoon session. I'll get you those two here, as I should have known. But anyway, where's he going to fall here in terms of like how is he going to lead this team? Yes, he has like a Jaden Cherry that's going to get some of the workload also, but I really I want to see Logan just take the reins of the leadership role, not just the scorer, because he has a chance here to really do something for his game and to elevate him to the next level. And when I say interest, of just like people wanting to know who he is, the type of scorer that he can be, and so forth. And I think that he just has a really big opportunity this weekend, and so I look for him to go out and get some things done.
Yeah, I love that point, Blue, about Logan, because his role is going to be a little bit different. He's now going to be scouted. Like, they're going to know who Zero is, and they're not going to let him catch, and they're going to make life really difficult on him. So how does he respond to that? I'm going to go to.
Well, let me finish my thought here. Is that
I
didn't want to speak, but I thought it was Brennan, and they're going to play Brennan, and so. You know what? Anybody that we throw at Brennan, they're going to have to prove themselves, and I mean, I think that's a big. That could be a big statement game. We'll see how that all happens, and they also have to face Antonian with their good guards.
That ain't no joke. I'm going to go in a different direction here. How can I not say Elijah Williams, San Antonio TMI? I've talked to a lot of people about this guy. I've watched some highlights. I haven't seen him live yet. My takeaway is size, athleticism, shot making, inside out. Nature to his game. He's a pogo stick, gets off the floor, and he's got some really, really tough matchups this weekend. You mentioned Brennan and someone else really good, but it's just going to showcase like that 2026 top of that class is pretty darn loaded, even with some of the departures in the 2026 class. And like, according to the national, rankings, he would be number one in the class and coming in. It's like, unfortunately, that's a really tough thing to live up to right off the gate, or right out of the gate. So I'm really excited to see him. I know the size, the athleticism, like you can see the pedigree jump off the screen, but just seeing that guy in person and then coming to play one of the best teams in the state in Brennan, It's going to be a really, really fun weekend of evaluation, and I think it starts with Elijah and where does he fall in the pecking order of the 2026 class. Blue, name a team that's you have on your must-watch list.
San Antonio Antonian. They went into TABC and they really took it to some people. And so now here we are, months later. Rudy Bernal has been able to start working with them. They are going to be led by Ed Onwe, which as a senior, he's going to have a lot of help with Amari Guetta and Jamel Garland as his guards. And so, I hope he doesn't get lost in all of that, because those two guys can make a lot of buckets from really deep. And think about Garland, and he is stepping off the football field to come play with his basketball team this weekend. So he may be a little rusty, but just to imagine this team and where they can be when it comes down to March and that TAPS. I mean, it's a little bit wide open, I think, for the most part, as you kind of think through some of the top TAPS teams. Obviously, St. Michael's is going to be among the elites when it comes to that area of TAPS, but Antonian, they have a chance here to kind of put another stamp of approval here of who they are as a team, and with those three guys, and especially with the senior leadership of Ed Onwe. Again, the leadership role keeps coming up in my topics here, but it's important. It's important to go out there and show what you can do for the underclassmen, and pave the way a little bit here as you get going here in September.
Yeah, Blue, you're not alone in talking about the leadership. I mentioned that in the Gasso Fest break, little marquee matchup I wrote about with East Central, and how Zaire Williams is going to respond with no Everett Stewart. Like, these little narratives matter, and they set the tone for how the whole entire season is going to go. So I'm right there with you. I'm going to go with John Jay. Coming off a campaign where they won 24 games, they are running deep with talent, and just they've continued to take steps in getting better in that program. And I think this is a year that it could really culminate, and they could be a nice little dark horse to make a really good run. Elijah Hubbard, Kai Guess, Cameron Garza, Jarius Jackson, Jaden Guillen, Zachariah Linson, Eric Robles. They're just deep. And how does a team with this much depth operate? I look at this event in particular to kind of set the stage of the pecking order and how everybody responds to it. A lot of depth is really nice on the surface, but managing how that actually plays out is a really challenging thing. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the dynamics kind of play out and how they play together, because they have a chance to be really good if egos can be set aside and it can all be about John Jay. That's kind of what I see, and I'm really excited to see how they play this weekend.
I'm going to add a little something to that. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, in San Antonio, people know who Sean Brooks is, and is how great he was as a basketball court on the basketball court at John Jay. So I just think that when you rewind, he through the years, he knows what that program once was. And so he has definitely done a great job of taking his roots of who he was as a basketball player, as a teammate, and now as the leader of the program, as a head coach. And he's gotten to this point here where we're consistently talking about his team and John Jay and what he's done to develop these players.
Yeah, great shout out there. Last question for you, Blue. What is one word that encapsulates what you're feeling about this weekend?
First thing that came to mind was chemistry. We looked at last year, we looked at Region 4 thinking, okay, this was going to be the year that they were going to finally hold up that title again, which I believe it was John Jay was the last one to do that back in 2001-ish, 2002. And so Stony Point, they fell short, of course, because they had to face a 40, at the time, a 39-0 Plano East team who was destined to win. And so now, where is this chemistry among these teams here? Brennan, we look for another great, big, spectacular year. Obviously, there's they're getting older. Kingston Flemings is going to be he's a senior, so this is his last chance at it. Where's the chemistry of that of Brennan, of their team? You look at Stony Point. Stony Point, I think, probably has a little bit more to prove, and I think Antoine Thompson He kind of likes being the underdog a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you look at San Antonio. I won't touch a lot on this, but San Antonio Harlan, you got to subscribe to the San Antonio Fast Break. Mass has written about Harlan and how they're a little bit of a dark horse. And so, when you think of the chemistry, there's so much more, and so it's bigger than one person.
Right.
Because if you're going to achieve that goal of getting to state or winning state, it's not you're being in Region 4. It takes the entire team. It takes so much. It's not the days of De'Aaron Fox where he could carry a team at Side Lakes in Region 3, 6A, and get them to that regional finals because he could score 40, 45 points any given day. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for where is that chemistry being built, who has it, who looks sharp. And it's so early that we'll still hear more as we go along, as we get into October and November. But it's just exciting to kind of see where everybody is. And guess what? We're going to be wrong about some teams. And there's going to be some teams that we're going to sit here and go, wow, we didn't mention them. I'll mention them next week on GassoCast. So it should be just a fun, loaded weekend.
Good call. You went with chemistry. I think that's a great word. And it's kind of like, I'm taking a different perspective. I'm just eager to get down to San Antonio and continuing to sink my teeth into the Central Texas, just recruitment in the landscape, and to learn more players. I always love learning players that necessarily aren't like the hot ticket. I will be on all the courts. I'll be sitting my bottom on the backstop by myself, and I'll be locked in. So I'm really looking forward to it. And then obviously there are players who have changed teams, and I like seeing how new players fit into new roles and, just the dynamics of a team, kind of how you mentioned chemistry. So I had that mentioned there, but I think you summed it up wonderfully. But we got to let the games play out, and that's this weekend. So if you're in San Antonio, you better pop out. We've got loaded matchups all day. It is going to be a great event. Blue and I will be there. Come say hi to the Gasso team, and we will see you next week on the GassoCast.